Imagine waking up on a cold, damp morning, not in a cozy bed, but curled up next to a dying fire, your back sore from sleeping on stone. The wind howls outside the cave. Your stomach growls louder. You've got no alarm clock, just hunger and survival. Now picture this. You have no language, no calendar, no plan, just instinct, danger, and the same question every day. What do I need to do to live just one more day? What if everything you thought about cavemen, the grunts, the clubs, the laziness was wrong? What if their lives were more intense, more strategic, and more emotionally complex than you ever imagined? Imagine opening your eyes to the sound of wind hissing through the rocks. No alarm clock, no warm bed, just the harsh chill of morning air licking your skin like ice water. Your breath fogs in the cold dawn, the fire almost out. You don't wake up slowly, you wake up alert, because in this world, even mornings can kill you. The day doesn't begin with breakfast. It begins with fear before even standing up. One of the adults crawls to the cave entrance. They peer into the gray light. Are there tracks, strange smells? Did a predator pass through in the night? Is that movement in the bushes or just wind? Because out here, every morning might be your last. The rest of the group stirs. Small children whimper, their bones ache from sleeping on stone. The elders cough, rubbing their joints. A mother quickly checks her sleeping baby. The youngest, if sick or weak, might not have made it through the night. That silence in the morning, it could mean someone's gone. The first true task of the day. Check who's still alive. Then fire, always the fire. If it's burned out, there's panic. Fire is warmth, safety, cooking protection. Without it, the group is exposed. Someone, usually a designated firekeeper, or the most agile teen, rushes to the edge of the forest for dry twigs. Someone else shields the embers, coaxing them with breath, and scrap the fire returns in a burst of orange. There's no coffee brewing, no casual scroll through a phone. Every movement is urgent, purposeful. The morning routine is not self-care, it's species care. Now comes assessment. The group huddles not for a meeting, but to check in on the day's biggest threat: hunger. What's left from yesterday? A few bones, some chewed tubers, maybe dried meat wrapped in hide. Not enough. The hunters will have to go out. But it's not just grab a spear and go. They talk through gestures, murmurs, and looks, deciding who's strong enough, who's injured, who stays to protect the cave. Weapons are checked. Spears sharpened yesterday must be inspected. Stone blades are refastened with sinew. Nets are rolled and untangled. They're not just going to hunt, they might have to fight the forest. Has other predators, and none of them schedule appointments. Meanwhile, the home crew begins their tasks. A young girl walks down to the river, careful of snakes. She carries a hide pouch for water. An older woman begins mashing roots with a stone, checking for poison. A father teaches his son how to chip flint. Not with lectures, but by showing, watching, letting him try. Even the smallest children have work gathering dry moss for bedding, carrying sticks, learning where to step and where not to. There's no school, but everything is education. One mistake is not a bad grade, it's a broken leg, or worse. This was not a lazy existence, this was constant calculation. You rise with the sun because you must use every second of light. You stay quiet because sound carries through trees. You move together because alone means death. And it's not all brute strength. It's social intelligence, a kind of ancient psychology. Who's in charge today is the best hunter injured, who's grieving, who's angry. One bad decision, one ignored emotion, and the group could fracture. And fractures are fatal. But there are quiet moments too. A boy looks at the sunrise. A woman hums softly while fixing a hide. A child giggles as she tries to imitate her father, chipping stone even in the pressure of survival. Humans still found space for connection, small flickers of joy, awe, curiosity. These were the ancestors of every person alive today. Not lazy brutes, not cartoonish cavemen, but complex feeling, intelligent beings navigating a brutal world. With brains, instincts, and each other, by mid-morning, the hunters are gone, the cave is quiet. Tense, will they return with food or with wounds, or not at all? But for now, the fire is going. The sun is rising higher, and life, however, fragile, continues. The forest isn't quiet. It just whispers danger instead of shouting it, as the hunting group steps out from the rocky mouth of the cave and into the undergrowth. The world changes. Every footstep is careful, every breath is measured. Even the birds, the insects, the rustle of leaves, each sound carries information. Is that crack of a branch from prey or predator? There's no trail map, no GPS, only memory, instinct, and years of learning which paths are safe and which ones lead to death. They read the land like a book, the bend of grass, broken twigs, tracks pressed into the mud. One of the hunters squats, fingers hovering over a fresh print wild pig. Large close, they signal the group halts. Plans aren't spoken, they're felt. A glance to the left. A shift of the spear, the younger hunter nods. He'll flank the elder, will drive the prey. They'll try to trap it between two trees or force it toward the riverbank. All of this happens without a single word, because words make noise and noise brings death, and then it begins a burst of motion. The underbrush explodes, a squeal, the thump of hooves. One hunter slips mud. The other keeps running, muscles burning, lungs gasping. They don't give up because they're angry or determined. They give up and they die. They chase corner and drive. The spear strikes, the pig thrashes, blood sprays onto bark and skin. They don't cheer, they wait, panting, watching for movement. Because sometimes prey pretends, and sometimes a larger predator is watching the same hunt. Only after a long, breathless silence do they relax. They've won for now. The kill is both celebration and burden. Meat means survival. It also means weight, literal weight. The animal must be cleaned quickly, tied with cord, and hauled back before it rots or attracts scavengers. The hunters know their bodies will ache by nightfall, but they also know the group will live another day. They carve with flint blades. One uses a curved bone to slice ligaments. Another carefully saves the organs, fat, liver, heart. These parts are prized, not wasted. The bones, too, are useful tools, weapons, even instruments. Nothing is trash in this world. Everything is survival. The group isn't just waiting, they're working. One woman chews sinew into thread, another rubs ochre into stone for cave markings or body paint. A teenage boy pounds nuts into powder. Children sort small stones for tool use. A grandmother shows her granddaughter how to sew fur with a bone needle, her hands trembling, her voice soft. There is no leisure, no boredom, every task matters. And yet they laugh, sometimes they tease, they sing, not to relax, but to bond, and bonding in this world is survival too, because a lone human, no matter how strong, is still the weakest animal in this wild place. The cave itself is alive with activity. There are smells, meat smoke, damp rock. There are textures, rough hides, cold stone, soft moss. There is sound, crackling fire, the sharp click of stone on stone, a baby's distant cry. And there's planning. A lookout is always watching the ridge. Another counts. How many spear tips are still sharp? A young girl is taught how to throw a rock, not to play, but to defend. One eye is always on the forest, always, because in the Stone Age, danger doesn't take lunch breaks, but the emotional world is just as real. The people here feel fear, joy, grief, anger. A boy still mourns, his older brother lost in a hunt. Weeks ago, a woman touches the bone necklace of her dead mate. Before every meal, a man scolds his son too harshly, then later hands him the best piece of meat without a word. Their feelings aren't primitive, they're human. And more than once, they pause in their work and look toward the trees, because every time someone leaves to hunt, there's a chance they never come back. The hunters return at last the moment they're spotted. A cry goes up, part relief, part celebration. The children run to meet them. The adults rise, rushing forward, eyes searching for wounds. The smell of blood hits. First, when they see the pig, wide eyes become smiles. One of the elders begins a low chant of thanks, not to a god perhaps, but to the moment, to life itself. This is the peak of the day. There is food, there is fire, there is family. For this brief window, the group feels safe. But even now, the world outside does not rest. The shadows shift, the forest watches, and soon the sun will fall again. And with it, the fire must be fed. The cave must be guarded, and night will bring its own battles. The smell of cooked meat fills the cave, grease sizzles on hot stones. A mother peels charred bark from roasted tubers while her toddler clutches a small, warm piece of liver with both hands, juice running down his chin. No one eats alone. This is a shared meal, a silent ceremony. Even the weakest get a share. Even the old, because tomorrow it might be you who's too tired to hunt. This is the calmest moment of the day for a few breaths. No one is running, checking traps, watching the sky. They eat quietly together, the fire glows a little brighter. The cave pulses with the rhythm of chewing, hushed murmurs, crackling flames. The sun reaches its peak. It's blistering now. Some people rest in the shade of rocks. Others use this heat window to cook, cure meat, smoke hides. A few elders draw lines in the dirt maps, ideas, stories. A child traces them with her fingers, learning without knowing, and for just a moment the pace slows. Breath returns, but the tension never truly leaves, because the sky is already shifting. Shadows are growing long again. The moment of stillness is just that, a moment. Soon, everything will move again, because survival doesn't clock out. Every hour must be used. Every hand must contribute. There are no bosses here, no schedules, but also no laziness, no waiting, no time wasted. Not because of rules, but because of reality in this world. You don't survive because you want to. You survive because you earn it, one task, one cut, one shared meal at a time. And by the end of the day, the fire will burn again, and with it a flicker of safety. It's easy to imagine early humans as simple, primitive, barely above the animals they hunted. But when you look closer at how they solved problems, built tools, shared labor, you start to see something astonishing. These weren't mindless brutes. They were engineers, planners, innovators, and every day, especially the long, hot afternoons, they proved it. Take fire, for example, to us. It's flicking a lighter, pressing a button to them. It was a delicate, demanding ritual. Someone had to keep the embers alive all day. Someone had to gather dry wood without getting bitten by a snake or ambushed by a leopard. If it rained, someone had to build a dry shelter over the fire. And if the fire died completely, the group could go days without food, days without warmth, days without safety. So they learned techniques: bark friction, stone sparks, tinder bundles made from fungus or dried moss. They learned how to turn nature into technology, not with metal or wires, but with observation and memory. Let's talk shelter. Not every group lived in caves. Many built temporary homes out in the open huts made of mammoth bones, sapling branches, or animal hides, and they weren't random piles. They were engineered, a circular frame sloped to protect from wind ventilation gaps. Drainage ditches for rain even inside caves. They modified the space. Sleeping areas were arranged by age and roll tools were placed near the entrance. For quick defense, fire pits were positioned where the smoke could rise, but the warmth stayed low. They didn't just live in nature, they reshaped it to survive. Communication was another silent brilliance. They didn't have full language yet, but they had a deep intuitive system of grunts, gestures, eye contact, and emotion. A raised hand, a sharp inhale, a pointed glance to a stranger. It might seem meaningless to the group, It meant danger from the left or flank the animal or stay silent. This was the root of strategy, and strategy was everything. Imagine a hunt, not of one animal, but many. A pack of hunters moves in sync. Some hide in trees, others run wide arcs. One uses a tool to mimic the call of a wounded fawn, drawing in the prey. Another lights a small fire to flush animals toward a narrow valley. None of this is guesswork. It's coordinated action passed down through generations. They didn't just hunt, they outsmarted, and sometimes they failed. A boar escapes a trap, misfires, a hunter is wounded. They learn, they adapt, they modify tools, test angles, adjust timing. This is not savagery, this is early science. Even art served survival in the shade of the rocks, away from chores. A girl traces swirls on a flat piece of bark. Nearby, a man presses a handprint onto the cave wall with red ochre. Another carves lines into bone-counting days, perhaps, or tracking phases of the moon. These aren't distractions. They're record symbols, ways to pass on knowledge without words. The earliest calendars weren't apps. They were bones marked by firelight held in trembling hands. Used to predict migrations, seasons, danger, social structure was another quiet achievement. People weren't equal, but they were interdependent. An elder couldn't hunt anymore. She became the memory keeper, the story holder, a child too small to forage. He became the lookout or the fire tender, a man too injured to fight. He taught tool-making, carved idols, led rituals. No one was useless. Everyone had a place. And through that structure, early humans became stronger than any predator. And then there's empathy, perhaps. The most underestimated force of all. One woman cries softly. Her mate hasn't returned. The group doesn't mock her. They gather close. A child hands her a carved object, a tooth, a token. Another woman sings. This too is survival. Empathy kept the group from fracturing. It gave them courage to go out again the next day. It taught them how to raise children, bury the dead, share the hunt in a world with no margin for error. Kindness was a weapon, so yes, the Stone Age was brutal. But it was also full of quiet genius, of invisible systems, of creative work and collaboration. It was not a time without intelligence. It was a time when intelligence had to be raw, fast, shared, or it didn't survive at all as the sun begins to sink again. You realize the group has done more before dinner than most modern people do in a week. They haven't stopped. Not for comfort, not for ego, only for each other, because in this world, the only thing more dangerous than nature is being alone. The sun is dropping now, slowly bleeding orange across the treetops. Shadows lengthen, the air cools, and everything changes. There's no golden hour in the Stone Age, no romantic sunsets when the light begins to fade. Everyone's instincts sharpen because dusk is a warning. You're running out of time. The foragers are the first to feel it, still deep in the brush. They look up at the color of the sky, then exchange silent glances. The baskets aren't full. They haven't found enough roots or berries, but they know better than to risk the forest at night. One woman spots movement in the ferns, too low for prey, too silent for a monkey. Eyes watching them from the undergrowth, not human. She grips her digging stick tighter, signals the others. They move quickly, quietly homeward, because whatever that was doesn't blink at the cave. Preparations for evening are in full swing. The fire is being rebuilt, higher logs stacked tight. The children are called in from the edge of the stream. Cooking begins again, this time faster, more urgent. The smell of fresh blood from earlier hunts still lingers in the air. They must finish eating before full dark raw meat is danger, not just for disease, but for predators. This isn't a concert. It's not even entertainment. It's a moment of being human before darkness tries to take it away. And then the shadows close in the world outside. The fire becomes black and endless. The forest breathes the wind, hums through branches like whispers from another world, but the cave holds fast. The fire burns tall, the group huddles close, one by one they lie down, leaving only two to stand watch. Eyes wide, weapons, ready ears, tuned for any unnatural sound. Tonight they may be lucky, tonight the forest might stay quiet, but they never bet on it, because survival isn't just a full-time job, it's an all-night one too. And still, despite it all, they endure. They don't know that one day people will live in cities with walls and lights and locks. They don't know they're laying the foundation for civilization itself. They only know they've made it through another brutal day together.